Hello, this is James Smith from GannAnalysis.net. Today we're talking about Palantir. PLTR is the ticker. And from the high of January 2021 to the low here in January of 2023 is 501 trading days. Bars meaning trading days. Now, if you were to look for symmetry, that's what Gann is all about, the symmetry of time and price. You would automatically look from this high to this low and assume that, hey, maybe this rally will take it back to the same level, 45, which is a Gann number, by the way, by mid-January 2025. 501 trading days up, 501 trading days down. That's what we're talking about. You might also notice that in late January, if this was January 27, 2021, you don't have to be a genius to figure out that 4 years later, you've got a possible cycle here in an anniversary of that high. That's the kind of thing we look for is when things are in balance. You know, if it were to get, and I could be totally wrong, this might sell off, but if it rallies into this anniversary of that former high by, instead of January 16th, that would be exactly the same number of trading days. But let's say, for argument's sake, that, toward the end of January, January 27th, the anniversary of that high, it's suddenly testing that level, 45. So whether it is 501 trading days, as we see here, which would be the 16th of January, or if it's the anniversary of that high, sometime between the 16th and the 27th of January, I would be looking for a turn. Doesn't have to be a top, it could be a low. If you were to sell off into late January, maybe that's a low off which you start another big move up. All we're really looking for are turns. That's the point I want to get across. Now, the other thing I would point out, I did this chart back in the spring, and somebody asked about it, and I thought that this would be a high because you had a 45-week cycle. 130 is like 2.5 years, 130 weeks, and 180 is obviously a big cycle for Gann. 90, 180, 360, 45, these are all big Gann cycles. So we did get a pullback, but notice you found support on the 1x1 and the Fibonacci division at around 20.80. And then it took off. So it looks like it's had a pretty heady rally. Now, the question is that going to be a top in October when you've got a 90-week cycle, 36-week cycle, 26 weeks, half a year, 60-week cycle? These are all important Gann cycles. And when you have a cluster of cycles, the odds are better that you're going to get a turn. It doesn't mean it has to be a high. It could be a low. If it sells off in the next few weeks, if we want to take the argument, hey, let's say it's going to sell off. Maybe it gets all the way back down here. Okay, so if it gets down to the 1x1 and it bounces off of that by mid-October, you've got a trade. Maybe you missed the trade. Maybe you wanted to buy Palantir and it's gotten too pricey and you say, hey, I'm not going to chase it. Okay. From a Gann perspective, remember, time is more important than price. Sometimes sitting on your hands is the best trade. At this juncture, we don't know that this is going to be a high. We just know that you're going to get a turn in mid-October. That week of October 14th through the 18th, we like the 26-week cycle. We like the 90-week cycle a lot. And, these other cycles are cool too. And if you get a high, if it's at 45 and it looks like a double top, then hey, maybe it's time to sell. Or if it gets down here in the same time frame, let's say by actually it would be down here. If it's down here by mid-October and it's showing support on the 1x1, hey, maybe that's where you buy with a stop loss just below the 50% retracement. So what I'm trying to get across here is not that if you're doing Gann analysis, you understand with, you don't have a crystal ball. You don't understand everything. But you do know that certain times you want to pay attention, and sometimes you just have to wait. You have to wait and see what it does. If it pulls back and it finds support, then maybe you buy it with a stop loss below 25.42. Or if it rallies to 45 into mid-October and you're long, maybe you're selling it up here. If it looks like it's double topping. Now, for all I know, it's a great story. Maybe it blows through it and it just keeps going. You have to realize the Gann cycles are not perfect. Half the time they don't work. The reason we look at clusters is because it gives us a higher probability of a winning trade. There's no guarantee that a cluster is going to call a turn, but you have better odds, right? The more cycles, the more likely you're going to catch a turn. Back here in March, I knew that this was probably a top. I didn't know how big the correction would be. It turned out to be not that big, but you did get a turn. So that's what we're looking at. And we might also look at some other stuff. If you're looking at square outs, each time one of these Gann lines crosses the level of a prior swing low, you have what's called a square out, and the probability is that you're going to get a turn. In this case, we got a low. In this case, we got a low. You can see this line is crossing the level of that prior swing low. That was a low. And now, as you come into mid-October, you got a 4-year cycle, 208 weeks, got a 90-week cycle. I showed you some of those other cycles on the prior chart. But, I'm excited by the idea that if you do get up here at 45, that would be a probable top. Or if you get down here, maybe you want to be buying it. So, you can look at a lot of different Gann charts and get a feel for what's really going on. But the reality is, even if you look at 50 Gann charts on your favorite stock, it's never going to be bulletproof. You got to admit that sometimes the cycles don't work and you're just going to get blown out. So always trade with a stop loss. Protect yourself, because nobody's, even with Gann, it's not a perfect system. Sometimes it doesn't work. Just like any other technical analysis. You got to know that, buyer beware. Sometimes it's not going to work. So I hope this has been helpful. And if you do like what you see here, you can shoot me an email, jamesmith@gannanalysis.net. Or, you can actually go to the website, www.gannanalysis.net. And if you register, you get a few free reports now and again. You click on categories. The first item on the list is going to be free reports. That one's open to everybody. And the other categories, if you want to see what we cover, you can actually just scroll through the list of categories. We cover pretty much everything you can imagine. Stocks, bonds, forex, commodities, crypto, whatever you're interested in. And if we don't cover it and you become a client, we will cover it. So keep that in mind. I hope you appreciate that I'm not here to tell you to buy or sell Palantir. I'm just trying to explain the way Gann would approach this stock. So this is not a recommendation to buy or sell. I just want you to understand Gann theory, and with a couple of Gann ideas to give you an idea what would Gann do in this situation. So 45, remember 45 is a big level. I think it's no surprise that back in January 2021, that was a high. And if we get back to that level at any time in the future, especially in conjunction with some Gann cycles, we know that's going to be a likely turn. So that's how it works. Hope this has been helpful. If you like it, give us a thumbs up. register to the website, and good luck with your trading.